We're live.
Right. Hi. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. I feel like it's been a while since we did a live and a live together.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are new here, my name is Amanda Ray, and I think we got a lot of new subscribers since the last video, but I think I might just do a little bit of a rundown of who I am. I was born and raised in Utah in a polygamous incestuous cult. My dad has 3 wives. The first wife is my mom's sister, and the third wife is my dad's half-sister. So grew up there, escaped at about 17 years old, and that explains why in my last video I was struggling with a lot of PTSD and stuff like that. A lot of it pertains to my childhood. But since my escape, I got to get to know Shelise.
Hey.
I was gonna say trauma bonded, but that's not the right word.
We've been talking about correct terms lately.
Right, and especially because this video, we're going to be talking a lot about terms that didn't exist in the order, which I'm so curious too, because she was raised Mormon.
Mainstream.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder if these terms were something that was shamed or hush-hush or even talked about in your upbringing.
Right, yeah.
So, hi you guys. Hopefully we have some order members lurking to learn some of these things.
If you're new here and you just came over from our channel, welcome. Make sure to subscribe to Amanda. This is our home base here. We're in Austin right now, and Amanda's visiting us, and so we knew we had to jump on and do some videos together. We have a huge playlist over on our channel, and I think on Amanda's channel too. We've done probably 20 plus videos together.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, if you like the dynamic, there's more.
Yeah, we obviously like it. We keep coming back.
Yeah.
Hi Denise, thank you.
And Jonathan will be moderating and putting your comments up on the screen, and we will be answering your questions. So if you guys have questions, leave it in the chat, and we will get to them in a few minutes.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to talk about terms that just like didn't exist in the order and also skewed definitions, and things that were just flat out kind of ripped out of our books in
Yeah.
the schools. Because we recently were talking to some ex-members about how they really filtered because they have a private school, Ensign Learning Center, which is where I went to school while I was in this cult, and they had specific kids that were assigned to jobs before the school year started to rip out
Pages?
either anatomy or that's not me, is it?
It wasn't me. Weird. Maybe it was Jonathan's phone.
You guys, turn your phones off. But yeah, so ripping out things like anatomy, ripping out just flat out things in history that they didn't want to acknowledge, as well as evolution, just things that they didn't want the kids to be learning. So we were definitely, my first year in public school, the most common thing kids said to me was, "Were you living under a rock?" And I would get like, because I wasn't supposed to tell them about the cult, but yeah, I was living under a rock. So the number one thing that I think is important to educate, if there happens to be any cult members watching today, is the definition of abuse. So we were raised that a baby by the age of like 6 months old should be obedient. And so this means if you need to correct them, which I call it abuse, they call it parenting, right? But if you look up the definition of abuse, it is very clear that the way that they were teaching to raise the kids in the order was abusive. I know that a lot of families have like different definitions on spanking and like how much you're allowed to hit your kid, right?
How much you're allowed.
How much you're allowed to, as long as it doesn't leave a mark.
How much you're allowed to hit your child.
And I posted this on my Instagram, actually. It was a study about how, like, I think it was like at least 40% of Americans spank their kids. And the study was saying that no matter what, if it's abuse, framed as abuse or framed as corrective parenting, the psychological trauma are the same. Exactly.
Well, the Harvard did a study on it, and they've been studying this for like 50 years, so it's irrefutable. The information is out there that when they looked at a child's brain, the centers that light up when they're being spanked is the same as sexual abuse.
Oh.
So it's the same.
Yeah.
Don't spank your kids.
Right.
I know it's a touchy topic and some people defend it to the death, but I just cannot for the life of me get behind it.
Right. And I've had so many ex-cult members be like, I was spanked, but I deserved it and I needed it. And I'm like, I don't know that any little kid deserves to be abused or corrected in that hit. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's like,
All it does is teach the child that the world is not safe. If they can't even count on their primary caregiver to not harm them, then how can the rest of the world be safe?
Right. And there is more than just physical abuse. And I remember one of my live streams, there was an order person saying, hey, not all order families are abusive. My family never spanks me, never hits me, da da da. And I was like, well, do you know what emotional abuse is? Because if you're living in the law of one above another, which is don't listen to yourself, listen to one above you before yourself, that's emotional abuse. It's telling them that you can't trust yourself, you need to trust someone else over yourself. That right there is emotional abuse. And if you are in the order believing that Paul's the man on the watchtower and you need to go to him instead of yourself, you need to go to him for your connection to God, and you can't have that connection, his overrides yours, that's emotional abuse.
Yeah, and we're about to get into SA. I don't know if you want to, I already said it on your channel. Sorry, I hope you don't get demonetized.
Well, we're going to use terms like grape, right?
Yeah. Grape without the G, you guys can do the math, and SA
Right.
or CSA.
And that was, we were talking about on your channel how that marital grape is not even a term in the order. There's no such thing because your husband can't grape you. And I
Yeah.
remember specifically women in the order saying that, married women saying that. And they were also the same women that were excited that their husband would get married again so that their husband would get off of them. So it's kind of a sad thing because it's like, oh, I'm so excited for another victim to come in here and share the essaying with me so I can get less of it.
Oh, that's dark.
It's really dark.
That's really dark when you think about it like that.
And it also makes sense that, because weren't we just talking about how a lot of the times the women are the recruiters that get the next one, which if you think about it in that context, it makes sense that that's incentivizing them to go out there and like that we can all share it and then we can all harbor it together.
The reason they use the women to recruit is because they have to convince the victims that what they're doing is a good thing. And it's, oh, I'm changing your life. Oh, things are going to be better with me in it. And don't you want to share this blessing with other people? Don't you want to bring someone else into this blessing? And so they frame it in such a way that makes the women think, okay, yeah, this is a good thing. Oh, I do want to share it. Or you're being selfish if you're not sharing this gift.
Right.
Don't you want to share this with other people? Don't you want to share the gift of eternal life with someone else, your sister, a sister wife?
Yeah, I was told by women who got, let's call it what it is, they got manipulated into being a plural wife, and they were talking about how all of the sudden all these girls were their friend. Oh, like overnight they'd be like, oh, I love your bag, and like they're getting love bombed by these women, and they're like, oh my gosh, friends, especially being in the order when it's so isolating being an order member. And then to have like a group of people just adore you, you're like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is like ecstasy. And then they marry into the family, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You guys should get a billboard near the Order's church and put life on the outside is better than being in the order you get to choose.
I know.
That would come down real fast.
Yeah, they would definitely try to graffiti it in the name of the Lord.
Yeah, of course.
Another term, unless we want to say any more on this? Okay. Another term that is, well, it is used, but it is very frowned upon, is divorce. Whenever I saw a divorce happening in the order, someone's pushed out. Like both parties do not stay. And a lot of the times, if the man's wanting to stay, then they push the woman out. But it's hard to see them push the woman out because the woman is so like valuable. But they're specifically Jesse's family. So Jesse's the leader, Paul's brother, and he would always brag about how he's never had anyone leave him, never had any of his kids leave, yet he had a whole wife and kids leave in the middle of the night and escape him.
Oh my
But he
gosh.
just doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I remember having to hear through the grapevines, like do some research while I was a member to find out that Jesse had a whole wife and kids leave in the night to
Oh
get
my
away from him.
gosh. Yeah.
But when things like that happen, they just don't talk about it. They just pretend it never happened.
Is it the case where they grant divorces, or do you have to have special permissions or certain things to happen for a divorce to work?
Well, so they brag so much about the divorce rate in the order being so much better than the divorce rate in the world, but it's because you're being forced to stay there. But as far as divorces go, there were times where women begged for divorces and they would say, nope, you need to stay loyal to your husband. And then the same thing, there were some where the men begged for divorces because it just wasn't working. And they're like, nope, we do not get divorces here. And so it's just like,
So they just don't let you.
White knuckle it. Yep.
Because I just did an interview today with the former Jehovah's Witness, and she said the only way that they would allow them to get divorced is if one of them died or there was infidelity. And so her only option was to cheat on him. But then she got excommunicated and shunned from her entire family and friends. But it was the only way out of the marriage.
Wow. And then, of course, they're just going to be shaming you on your way out. Yep. And that's what I saw happen to any of the women who were wanting a divorce. They were
Yeah.
shamed on the way out for whether it be they wanted to slut shame them, they wanted to be like, oh, they're tearing their family apart, whatever. Maybe there are some rare cases that I haven't heard of, but I've just never seen any case where there was a divorced family that stayed in the order ever.
Where both parties stayed.
Right? I've never exactly, I'm trying to think. Yeah, someone's always pushed out. But another thing, since we're on the topic of cheating, right? And infidelity, unfaithful. So infidelity, unfaithfulness, cheating doesn't exist when it's pertaining to men. Like you never see when men are going behind the wives' backs to get another wife. It's never framed as cheating. It's framed as like godly. But if a woman's going behind the guy's back to look around for another husband, that's obviously cheating, right? Again, I don't know why we keep talking about Jesse. He's just in my mind right now. Jesse was the one that talked about how who I go forward on is none of my wife's business. Who I am trying to marry is none of their business. But I brought this up so much because in the 10 Commandments, doesn't it say thou shalt not commit adultery?
Yeah.
So then what is adultery if that's not adultery?
Yeah. That's so gross. And sorry to bring up another interview, but it's relevant because it's polygamous Mormonism.
Yeah.
Not AUB, but it's the LeBaron group down in Mexico. We haven't released it yet. But in her book, she was talking about how she got married as the first wife. It was a love connection. They were so in love. And then they get home. Oh, no, it's worse. So the day of her wedding, he was like, I'm going to bring a girlfriend to our wedding. And then the day they got home from their honeymoon, he was like, I think it's time for me to find another wife. He just used it as an excuse to cheat. He had multiple girlfriends at all times. I think he ended up getting 6 wives total. But men abuse the system. And they're like, what? This is what God wants. No, it's not.
Right.
No, it's not.
Well, and it's gross too. A lot of the ways that the men do this in the order is very possessive. Like what we were talking about in the last video, how I just knew when I was holding that baby, like they
Wait, finish that sentence for those who aren't familiar with the story.
For you who have not heard, a lot of the men in the order would praise direction from God on who they're supposed to marry. So they would say, I'm so close to God that I was holding this baby and I knew that I was going to be marrying her when she was older. And then they would frame the pictures in their family after he did marry her. And it's a very possessive thing.
So gross.
I've interviewed some of Daniel's kids about this because Daniel is one who's married a lot of his own half-sisters. And he would tell the kids, like, I knew that I was going to marry your mom. She didn't want to marry me, but I got her. Kind of like very predatory.
That's so gross.
And again, his own half-sister, too. And he was looking at them like, I'm going to get you. It's so creepy. But, yeah, so they...
What? Said that
I'm gonna get you. He probably did say that in real life. But it's like little trophies. I'm going back to what you were saying about how she was AUB and it was what did you say, 6? He had 6 wives with her?
Yeah, it wasn't AUB. I misspoke. It was
LeBaron.
the LeBaron group in Mexico. 6 wives. Her dad had 11.
LeBaron is an interesting one. Before we get into what I was just gonna say, LeBaron, if for anyone who doesn't know, they are the ones who believe in the blood atonement.
They were practicing, so it was a group of LeBaron brothers, and then one brother broke off, his name was Ervil, and he was like, yeah, we need to blood atone the other group because they're not following me and I'm the true prophet, and so he went and offed a ton of people.
Supposedly, this comes from either Joseph Smith or Brigham Young.
Yeah, the blood atonement.
And the blood atonement is it basically, if you are going to sin, I need to save you from yourself from going to hell, so I'm going to just... get you out of this earth without the sin so that you can go to heaven rather than you go sin and then you're now going to go to hell.
Yep.
So they were heavy on the blood atonement, and we had members that joined the order actually from that group, like escaping that group.
Because she told me that when she got out, it was the order who was trying to recruit her into marrying Paul because she already had 9 children and she was only 32 and she had just escaped across the border, and she said the Kingstons put her in an apartment and they were love bombing her to try to get her to marry Paul.
Which makes me think Paul has more than 27 wives. because when I was in the order, I counted all the wives, and I even had one of Paul's wives helping me. We named them all, and it was 27. But if he's over there trying to recruit from other groups,
Yeah.
there's definitely a possibility that he could have wives in other states that
Right.
maybe some of the wives don't even know about, and definitely the order doesn't know about, because they were very secretive when he married his own niece. I remember she got married and I had no idea who she married, and then I saw she had a ring, and then I saw the way she shook his hand. And that's how I knew. I was
Wait,
like,
how did she shake his hand?
it's like, so this is how you shake a normal person's hand, right? Hi, nice to meet you. But when you're shaking
When
a
your
hand,
husband-
when it's your husband, uncle, brother,
Oh, gross.
then it's like this. Hi.
Oh,
And then the girl's
gross.
like, and it's an extra long, and it's less shaky too. It's just like, and then they
Stop.
and that's how you get pregnant, kids. Just
If you want to know how to get pregnant, go back to my channel. We just talked about it.
true. That's linked down below, right? We put it
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
there. But yeah, to go back to, sorry, going all the way back to when you're talking about how he had 6 wives and he was just basically had all these
Using it as an
girlfriends.
excuse to cheat.
There have been cases where men will get married and then on their honeymoon they're already like
Exactly.
sexting other women and they're the
Yes.
next wives.
It's so
Yep.
crazy. She was saying that when she got pregnant, she found out that he was courting 3 other women, and she was
Yeah. And
It's so
this is what
gross.
makes me so mad is being someone who was taught my whole life I need to keep my body a temple. I'm a present for my husband. So every
Yeah.
time I kiss a guy, it's tearing that present. Where's my present? Where is mine? If I'm gonna be a 5th wife and he's already like, that doesn't make any sense that I'm saving myself for you because you
Yeah.
don't care to save yourself for me. So what are we even playing?
haven't heard the present one before. That's new.
What was yours? Is the
Licked
chewed gum?
cupcake and chewed gum was the mainstream Mormonism purity culture lesson.
Oh,
Do you want to do any questions?
I had one more thing I was gonna say on that topic.
Okay, sorry.
Of
Where's my present?
Where's my present? And then the husband's being cheating, and then I just love to talk about how Daniel was engaged to Shirley. We're bringing Shirley back up. So Val's mom and dad is Daniel and Shirley,
I love
and
Val.
Shirley was engaged to him, and he's like, "Do you want to basically like kind of do you want to go on a date?" And she goes on this date, and it's a date of him marrying someone else. So she was sitting there at his wedding while she was engaged to him.
That's what I'm talking about. What happened to? Oh my
But they're also, you have to
gosh.
remember, like teenagers. Like these are just little girls. Like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, I guess. And when everyone else is doing it, then it's like this is the norm, I guess.
Yeah, that's what Pamela said. She said that he invited a 14-year-old to their wedding, and also she was 15. So
Yeah.
there's that.
There's this children. This is the last thing I want to say on. I keep saying coercion, but it's coercion.
We talked to Amanda about this. Yeah.
It's even spelled with an H right here. Coercion, and you know what? That's an example of me not even knowing what this word was. Okay,
I was
my
like,
whole
Amanda,
life.
it's coercion. There's no H.
Coercion.
Yeah, you got it.
When coercion, it equals forced consent, right? So in the order, they said, oh, because she said I do, it was consensual. It's a consensual marriage. She said I do, but when you're coercing,
Coercing.
then is it consensual?
No.
And I urge, if there's any order member watching this, look up the definition of coercion. COH. Because just because someone said I do does not mean that they are 100% consenting.
That is not consent, and consent can be revoked at any time.
Right.
You can say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, or you know what, I said I wanted to have sex, but I changed my mind, and that's okay, especially if you're married. You have that ability. Your body is autonomous. You own your body. No one else owns your body, and this is what we were talking about on our channel, is when you don't learn about sex education or boundaries or consent, that's when things can go wrong, because they purposely keep the women in the dark so that they can use and abuse that. And so understanding that you don't belong to anybody else is such a huge thing that women really need to be aware of.
Yeah, it's so true. Should we answer questions and then I can end
Yeah,
on this
then we
last
can go.
thing?
Okay, any questions?
There was like a hair attacking me. Can you read it?
Okay, I was gonna do it, and then I was like, this is Amanda's show. I need to be quiet. Okay, Amanda, would your mom ever come out of the cult again, and has any more siblings left the order?
If you are new to my channel and you may not have caught this, my little brother Jakey did leave. So my mom has 10 kids and now 5 are out and 5 are in. Isn't that wild? Half and half.
Yeah.
We have my older sister, me, my younger sister Rachel, younger brother Eskel, and younger brother Jakey. And so he has been out for a year, and it's been He's been healing so much. It's been a roller coaster, but
How old is he?
him and I are 10 years apart.
Whoa, no
So
way.
it was hard to, and we're still working on this. When someone leaves the order, obviously you're cut off from the family. So I really felt like I was robbed. They were like my babies. It
Yeah.
wasn't just my siblings. I was one of the older ones, so I helped raise them. So he was like my little baby. And then they cut that tie. And so the aftermath of this is a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, that's so awesome that you can be siblings again. It's not as happily ever after. I mean, it's going to be, but right now it's rekindling that and figuring out how to help so that we can trust each other in a way that, because I was very demonized and I couldn't tell there's certain things that he's having to shed the beliefs of because I was a terrible devil worshiping person, right? And so, and I had this happen too with other people who tried to leave, and then if I said one thing like a swear anything could like scare them back in, be like, oh, it's true, all the things they said about her. But I also, for a little while, I was like, okay, I need to make sure I don't swear in front of them. I need to make sure I don't drink. I don't make any jokes that could be offensive. Now I'm like, you're either gonna leave or you're gonna go back. Like, I'm not gonna control that for you. And if
Yeah.
you want to demonize me, that's your free right to do.
Yeah.
But so with me and him, we've been really trying to rekindle that relationship that was kind of stolen from us. And also, I'm a completely different person than I was then, you know? But it's been good. He told me some memories that were really good memories for him that made me cry. He said that there was one time when it was the time that I was leaving, and I don't even remember doing this. He said that it was the time that I was leaving, and I went up to him and I told him, just remember, Jake, if they hit you and they leave a mark, then you can call the police, and that's abuse. And I was trying to educate him, but like it sounded like the way he was explaining it, like I was hurrying and trying to like put out fires before I left. And he said he didn't understand at the time why I was saying what I was saying until he got older and he started to realize that he didn't deserve the abuse that was happening to him. But at the time, he didn't get it. So he was grateful that I said that, even though it was that one time that I said it, it stuck. And so whenever he was abused after that, he was like, oh.
Well, that's what we're talking about. The things that you don't know. And a lot of times it takes leaving to understand you've been abused. Because we see it all the time on our channel. People are like, well, I didn't realize I had a bad childhood till like 5 years ago. And they've been out 10 years. Because when you're growing up in that bubble, you just don't know what's not normal.
Right. And or people like to argue, well, then you weren't depressed. You weren't like you were happy, right? Like this wasn't really abuse because you didn't think it was abuse, and now you're letting everybody
Yeah,
else tell you.
okay.
Well, I was still getting symptoms of PTSD. I was still very can I say schmooer
I don't know.
Well, I was definitely like you go through so much of that in the order. And just because you don't say the word depression, anxiety, abuse doesn't mean that you're not going through it. And so, yeah, it's the way that we can be able to educate ourselves. And that's why this channel has been so important for me to be able to be a voice back to them, but also it's helped me heal and work through the stuff that I'm going through as well, because I'm not there yet, definitely not yet. But sorry, that was such a long answer to the question. I didn't even get to my mom. We've talked to my mom. We talked about my mom on yours, right?
Yeah.
Just barely. So same thing, basically. She's still in.
Yeah.
We hope the best for her, but I'm also to the point now where for so long I was like, please leave, and it was like this roller coaster. Like, are you gonna leave? Oh, she's going back. And now I'm like, it's her life.
Yeah.
This is my life, and I'm happy where I'm at, and she's got her decisions that she's got to make, and that's that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Any other questions? How have you girls navigated spirituality? I'm trying to figure my spirituality out and was just curious how you guys have done it after leaving such a high control group.
This is a good question. Did you know me and Jonathan had a little conversation about this earlier
No.
today? He was like, "Do you believe in God?"
Jonathan.
I was like, "Well, how deep do I want to get in
Yes.
this?"
we just got donuts, but sure.
I know they were good. Wait, you should answer because I want to hear if you have a similar.
You want me to go
system.
first?
Yeah.
How did I navigate spirituality? My situation, it's been a roller coaster and I'm still trying to figure it out. But when I first left Mormonism, I dove heavily into New Age in a way and ghosts because I always had so many ghost things happening to me and I just wanted to know about the afterlife without anyone telling me not to look into it, because in Mormonism, it's stay away from ghosts and don't tell ghost stories and don't even watch
Demonic.
scary movies. And so I was like, let's get to the bottom of this. So I learned a lot about the ether, about dimensions, about energy, quantum physics, and all of that. And I found it really interesting, and it made sense to me, and it still kind of does, that we come down not necessarily to be tested, but to grow as souls. And then reincarnation makes sense to me of like, yeah, we just try out different experiences and gain more knowledge, and we have soul groups. That stuff feels resonant. And I think that there is some sort of higher power, God force energy, but I don't personify it as a man sitting on a throne judging me and judging my life. I feel like if we're good people and we do our best in this world, I think we'll end up in a place that works out for us in the afterlife. I guess to all that to say, I wouldn't consider myself Christian. I don't think that story makes a lot of sense the more I look into it and learn about the Bible and how it was created and how the authors didn't even know Jesus, all that stuff. I'm like, I think it's been used as a control mechanism for thousands of years. But not to say there aren't good things in it, to each his own.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe in just doing things for myself now that make me happy, because that's the only moment we really know exists. We don't know if a life before this existed, and we don't know if a life after this exists. So if we can just enjoy the present moment, find our peace, find our happiness, and do no harm to others, that's what makes me feel at peace. And it may shift and change over time, but that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think in regards to anyone's belief on religion and God and whatever you want to believe in, it should, this is my belief, it should be making your life better. It should be making you feel a community, a purpose, elevating your life, not making it worse.
Exactly.
And that's how it was in the order. It was like, as soon as I left, and we were talking to other ex-members recently about this, they said the same thing that I said. When I left, a weight was lifted instantly, like a huge burden off. It felt physically, I felt
Freeing.
lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then maybe you're in a cult. But if you feel lighter by being in that community and by being
Yeah.
able to be around, people who believe the same as you and to be able to elevate each other, that's different than something that feels like you're very shame driven, very fear based, right? So I'm definitely not like anti religion,
Yeah.
but I definitely think that I've experienced where it has gone too far.
Yeah, exactly. And I think anything can get culty in any direction, because there was a point where I leaned too far into New Age and found myself in New Age cults. I mean, that exists too. So I'm not
Right.
saying that any one group is the answer, because I think people can find a lot of peace and happiness in Christianity. And we cover a lot of Christian cults on my channel. So, and even down to Buddhism and yogis and gurus, like all of that can
Yep.
get culty. So you really just have to pay attention to red flags, pay attention to gut feelings. If something feels off, it probably is, and understand that if it's not bringing you joy, like Amanda said, then it's time to move on. And something can also resonate for a while, and then it's you got what you needed out of it, and it's okay to move on to something else. You
Right.
don't have to be like, okay, well, now I'm Christian and this
This
is
is
what I
defining
believe.
me.
Yeah, and I can never change my mind. You can absolutely change your mind when something is no longer serving you. That goes for religious beliefs, that goes for politics, that goes for friendships, that goes for relationships. If something is no longer fitting and it is causing you harm or causing someone else harm, it's time to reassess. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, especially growing up in high control groups, is they grow up with the truth of this is the right way and it's the only way. It's black and white thinking. And when you leave, you feel this pressure of I have to find what actually is the truth. I have to go on this quest. I have to figure it out. You don't. You just have to figure out what works for you and then be willing to shift and adjust if it's necessary in the future.
Being patient with yourself too, because I was definitely the one that when I left, I felt a lot of shame for not going to a church, so I had to go see if I could find the true church. But I think that a lot of my issues were deep rooted in when your personality is also
Enmeshed.
intertwined,
Yeah.
right? Then
Yeah.
it's like when you no longer resonate with something you believe in, whether it's religion, whether it's your partner, whether it's, a lifestyle that you're invested in, when you no longer resonate with it, it feels like a piece of you is dying, right? And so that's really uncomfortable because what do you use, enmeshed so much of who you are as this thing. And so it can be even harder to release yourself from it.
That's something else to keep an eye on. Am I morphing into someone else because of this group? Is this group changing who I am? And is it for the better? Is it for something that I actually want, stand for, and believe in? Or are they using it as a mechanism of control to fit everyone into this one box and everyone starts to look the same and act the same and be the same? That's another way of recognizing a cult, taking away your individuality and taking away your voice and your intuition.
Yep. Which we talked about this on I think it was the last live. And this has been what's been helping me through my PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I don't know what you would call this, but we talked about how it's a form of like meditation that I do where I will lay down and I will put some music on that's very calming, if it's like binaural beats or like sound bowls, and I will let myself like relax and get really deep into, letting the thoughts fly by, and then I will ask myself what it is that I'm needing, what it is that I'm feeling, what it is that I'm going through right now. And I just the answers come really, you have all the answers within you. You just have to be ready to listen.
Well, you have to be still enough to listen,
Right.
and you have to feel safe enough to listen. And that's why it's so hard to have an intuition in a cult, because most of the time, and especially these extreme cults, you're in fight or flight. Your nervous system isn't calm enough to have a spiritual experience because you are not even feeling safe. So I think I don't remember, there's an actual term for it, a scale where if you don't feel safe, you can't have a spiritual experience, and and it goes up the ladder. And that's such a big
Is
thing.
it like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes. So paying attention to, am I even safe enough to deconstruct this religion? Am I safe enough to really look inward, and making sure that you can get yourself to a space where you can sit in a quiet room by yourself, uninterrupted, no one screaming at you, no one needing you, and just being able to have that stillness, even if the only place you could do that is the shower. If the shower is the only time that you can feel safe and alone and meditative, then do that during your shower. Just allow yourself to drift off and have those thoughts. But yes, that's so important, and that's such a great way to recognize your intuition.
Yep. You're reminding me of, I think it was on Instagram, someone was saying that if you are someone who needs like bathroom time and your alone time is in the bathroom, you may have had a childhood filled with trauma where you didn't have any space to yourself. I'm like, wow, so everyone has the same experiences apparently. But mine is too, recently, and I told my adoptive family, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm always like the worst version of myself when I come here, but they don't see it that way. I just do, because every time I go to my adoptive family's house, I start crying. Like sometimes as soon as I pull up to the house, I start crying. And it's because they've created an environment for me where I feel safe. And so I go there, and most of my time there is just crying, but I feel better.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see, like, I didn't get to have that all of my childhood. So when I have it now, I'm like really catching up with my emotions. But yeah, that whole exercise though of like listening to yourself can help with everything in your life, if you can give yourself the space to say, hey, what's wrong, not in a condescending way, because in the past I was like, what's wrong, that there's a difference in the way that you're communicating with yourself to be able to get to the root of the issue. But it's made a world of a difference for me.
Do you want to do more questions?
How much time do we have?
We've been going 30 minutes.
Okay, maybe we'll end on the last thing that I was going to say, and then we can answer a few more questions if you want to, and then be done. The last things I wanted to talk about, in the same way we were talking about how on your channel that they don't want us to have education because they don't want us to leave, right? They don't want us to know that we can survive on the outside. They don't want us to have access to outside bank accounts. They don't want to have us access our outside family. They want to isolate us there. They controlled. In that same way, and this is just my opinion, I think that's also why we were never educated on what the word manipulation means. We were never educated on, I didn't even know what gaslighting was, what narcissist, what sadist, all these words that now I know, and I can point out who those can link up with, right, in the order. Same with coercion. because I believe it's in the same way of like, if we just don't give them this education that's vital information to keep them from predators, we can prey on them
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of frustrating. If you're someone from the order, though, if you don't like listening to me because I'm a demon, go listen to Dr. Ramani. Do you know who that
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
The way that she talked about, there's her most popular video was one. It literally felt like a massage to my brain, like it was healing my amygdala, because she was explaining narcissism and like what it feels like to be abused by a narcissist
Yeah.
in a way that was so validating, and it helped me through really deconstructing all the stuff that I went through in the order and even on the outside as I like got myself into relationships with narcissists again.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to get my knee out of the shot here. I didn't know about narcissists either until not that long ago. And once I started learning about the characteristics of a narcissist, I realized how vulnerable people are after leaving high control groups. And we've done entire videos about this, you
Yep.
and I, because they can easily prey on people and prey on those with a lot of empathy, prey on those who want the best, who can see the best in people, who try to ignore red flags because they are rooting for this person.
Right.
And it's so common to get yourself into narcissistic relationships. I would say that's probably one of the more important topics to research after leaving a high control group, because you will probably find yourself head to head with a narcissist who love bombs you, manipulates you, and makes you think you are the best person in the entire world until they don't. And you will find yourself in a situation that you're like, how did I not see that? And so educating yourself on all the red flags of a narcissist, and she's a great person to talk to, Dr.
Dr.
Ramani, or
Ramani.
listen to, because she really lays it out in an easy to understand way, and you can avoid all of that heartache.
Right. It's such a, and everything that she was saying, I was like, he did that and that and that. But it was things that you can't really pinpoint
Yeah.
when you don't have that education on it.
Yeah.
And then you feel stupid. Like I definitely felt stupid that I'm like, oh, I left a cult, and then I ran right into it again. But you're more likely to run into it again if you've already had it, because it's familiar. It's something that you're like,
It's
well,
the
yeah.
devil you know
Right.
versus the devil you don't.
And to retrain your brain to want something healthy is hard because healthy is so unfamiliar.
Well, it's also a worthiness thing because you accept
true.
the love you think you deserve. And so if you leave a cult and you're feeling worthless and you're feeling like no one will love me because I'm, quote, used goods, or any of the lies that they've told you, it's going to take a while for you to truly believe that you deserve something beautiful and healthy and not abusive. And so I feel like doing the work on yourself is so important, first and foremost, and figuring out you and what you want to believe and who you are as a human, and then looking for those healthy relationships, because you're more likely to be in a space to accept a loving, healthy person versus sometimes self-destructing is a way, or what, that's not self-destruct. What's the word?
Self-sabotage?
Self-sabotage, where you ruin it because you're like, something's off because it feels so different than what you're used to and how you're used to being treated. So, really understanding that you're worthy of love so you don't self-sabotage, so that you're willing to accept the love that you do deserve. All of those things are hugely important.
Right. That's so true.
Yeah.
Love yourself, you guys. Give yourself a big hug right
Love
now.
yourself.
Sometimes it feels, I still struggle with this because to try to change the narrative from hating myself to loving myself, it's a rocky, rocky road. And I talked about this on my last video of like, being afraid of myself. And because I was myself's worst enemy at one point, to the part that feels stupid, or at least felt stupid for me, was to change that narrative. One thing that helped was looking in the mirror and saying things like, I love you. You are worthy of love. You didn't deserve those things that happened to you as a child. No child deserves those things. Talking to myself like that. But in the beginning, it felt really stupid because I was never talked to in that way.
Yeah.
But I had to be the one to do that. And then in the first few times felt kind of silly. And then over time, I truly believed it.
Yeah.
And so that's a thing I just wanted to share because it helped me so much. And I'm hoping that someone needs to hear that. And even if you put those little reminders on a sticky note in your morning mirror, to remind yourself that you're worthy.
Yeah.
It's those little things that can change the way that your brain is, what are the
Wired.
synapses?
Well, it's crazy because you just saying that out loud, I love myself, I'm worthy of love, that actually made me emotional. And you weren't even talking to me.
Aw.
But it's something that is so important, doing that inner child work. If you've ever ran into inner child work meditations, even if you're not really into meditating or new agey type of stuff, this will rewire your brain. So there have been studies that prove that your brain doesn't know the difference between a thought and something that actually, or sorry, not a thought, a memory and something that you've made up in your head, which is another reason why cults are so nefarious, because they can wire you to make you believe something about yourself that's not even true. So if you can go in and reimagine bad memories and change them in a way that makes you feel loved and supported and seen and not hurt, it can actually rewire your brain to release some of those traumas. And I'm not saying it's a heal all and it'll fix everything, because it won't, but it'll put you on the right track to loving that child, that inner self, giving love to that little you that didn't know better, or didn't have safety, or didn't have a caregiver who could give you that safety. It'll be a good starting point.
Right. It's
Yeah.
so true. And yeah, doing it that one time may not feel like it's doing anything, but over time,
Yeah.
being that consistent parent to yourself.
Yeah, reparenting the little you that didn't have a better option. I think it can be helpful, and it's worth a shot, right?
Right. You deserve it.
Yeah.
So why not? Do we want to answer maybe a couple more questions and then
Sure.
we'll head out? Can you read it?
Chris says, you and Rachel will do another video together, right, Amanda?
My sister?
Oh, and has Rachel ever thought about getting a YouTube channel of her own? I've been trying to get Rachel.
Oh,
But
yeah.
she was like, I'm waiting to go on Amanda's channel, and then, so now I need to talk to her because
Yep.
it is time.
I'm trying to get her to just come out here and do a whole video with you.
Yeah.
Because she has such a good story. I think for a long time, and she talks about this on my channel, she was actually not even realizing that she was still letting my dad's words affect her. And so she wasn't going public because she didn't want to be, and this was subconscious. She did not want to be demonized the way I was. She saw me get demonized and she was like, oh. And so in a way, it kept him in charge of her voice.
Yeah.
So when she realized that, she was like, time to go on the channel right now. And so we want to do more videos together, definitely. And we have so many more ideas to talk about because it's not even just her story. I love doing little episodes with her where we can talk about our life now because it's so different than what it was in the order. I was reading something on Instagram. So I keep talking about, like, I saw this on TikTok, I saw this on Instagram, but there was something that said that siblings that were raised with the shared bedroom are a lot closer. And me and Rachel were sharing a room to the point where we put the tape down the middle, like, this is your side. But we have so many memories of that, and I think because of that closeness we've been able to coexist very well as adults too.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's I would love to see all of us to see so much more of me and Rachel together because she's
Yeah,
my other
Rachel's a
half.
sweetheart.
Yes.
Question, Shelise, how did you feel fundamentalist Mormonism? Oh, how did I feel about the fundies? I didn't even know they existed still.
When you were Mormon?
Yeah, until I moved to Vegas, and everyone was like, well, have you watched Sister Wives? I was like, no, because they're not even Mormon. Like, I totally disregarded all of them. I was like, they're not doing it right. We disavowed that a long time ago. It's so annoying. Why are you even asking me that? Because I was trained to basically discount them at every single turn and pretend they didn't exist and pretend they weren't Mormon. And, well, also it was just annoying because people would ask me how many moms I had, and I was like, we don't do that anymore, because in the shows they don't distinguish themselves as being a different branch. They just say Mormon. And so I will say it was annoying that they made the general population think that every Mormon was polygamist.
You know what I think that was? Is Sister Wives wanted to pretend that they weren't a part of the AUB. But they were a part of the AUB. Well, I think they do talk a little bit about their religious beliefs, but they never talk about AUB. And I think it's because their leadership said, absolutely do not involve us in the show.
Oh.
But they are definitely, I mean, maybe they've left since, but definitely when the show was starting, they were 100% AUB. And I went to the AUB church with a friend who was a member and saw Cody's kids there.
Yeah, well, Melanie Notes to Self, who popped up on our channel, who we just interviewed, because we just did a few AUB interviews, and she grew up with those women who are the sister wives. And she's like, yep, they're from our group.
It's so fun, though, to see that he's now a monogamous.
Right? Right? All of them left him?
Yeah. I mean,
And don't
have
believe
you
in-
seen Cody? Have you even heard one word out of that guy's mouth?
No, actually, I haven't watched it.
Don't do it. I get so triggered. That would be an interesting video, though, for us to react to an episode. Those are some of the most viewed videos I have. But it's because I get so triggered that I think the audience likes to watch me get animated. But yeah. When I bought my home in Arizona, I was like so excited to get away from all the polygamists. And like the first week I was there, my gym, I ran into Cody there.
You did?
And I literally like turned around as fast as I could. I was so mad. Like,
Oh,
I
man.
can't escape. But
Oh.
yeah, enough about Cody.
Amanda, I saw your aunt on Hope After Polygamy page. Have you met her before? Her story sounds really amazing.
You're talking about Connie, huh? This is another sad part of how I was just talking about how I'm rekindling that relationship with my little brother because it was ripped from me. Connie, I heard so much bad stories about Connie. Connie is my dad's older sister who left. She was one of the OGs to leave. And so they shamed her. All the terrible things you can hear about someone they said, okay? Everything you can think of, they said. And so I was afraid of her. And then when I left, I was like, I do want to meet her. And I had an opportunity to meet her. And it was so, I just remember being like, "You're my aunt." And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay." Because we don't know each other.
Yeah.
It's like a stranger, sadly. And so I would have loved to eventually be able to sit down and but it's work. You have to sit down and rekindle that. Not even rekindle, I never got to get to know her.
Yeah, you have to build from the beginning.
Yeah, from the ground up. And so it's hard because it's also like she's out here living her own life. She doesn't know me, and she's just moseying on, having a happy life over here. And here I am. At the time, I was like kind of like trauma dumping onto her all of my traumas that I went to, and she's like, "That's nice,"
Was she a plural wife?
I'm trying to remember her story. I think she was. The younger one was too. So I think all of my dad's sisters were polygamous. All the ones that stayed are married to their half brothers. Like that's how I think because of the bloodline that my dad's family was in, they were all like promised to their brothers. I don't know. But yeah, would love to hear her
Promise to
story.
your brother.
Yeah. I'm closer with Juliana because Juliana, I actually did see snippets of her, and she's been on my channel before, because she's younger and we would see her every now and then. But yeah, for some reason, Connie was so demonized, and maybe because she was actively talking against the order. Actually, that's probably why it was. But
Yeah.
that's a good question, though.
Two of my favorites in the same place. Woo! Love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
puppy.
it's fun. Amanda's visiting.
I know they're never gonna get rid of me.
She's staying forever. OMG, yay. Oh, I hope you're doing better.
Yeah, I think I traumatized some of you guys with that last video, but I also was very
No, don't put that on yourself.
What do you mean?
People's reactions to your reactions.
That's true.
That's your truth, and they can click off if they don't want to watch it.
And I did say in the beginning, like, that's just how this video is gonna be.
Well, the title says it all, so I mean,
Right.
there's that.
And if you click in, you're clicking in. But yeah, for me, it was is liberating the right word? To be able to just finally talk about it, because I was also like suppressing it for so long that it was causing PTSD and it was causing nightmares. So to be able to just speak it and process it, even though it wasn't fully processed, but to talk it out loud helped so much. Like it was the same thing, like a physical weight being lifted to finally just be like word vomit and get it all out.
Yeah.
But I encourage anyone who's going through something similar to not isolate and, because I think sometimes when we come from trauma, that's our initial instinct, is to just go isolate, because when you were in a traumatizing household, being vulnerable was actually something that can cause more trauma to happen.
Yeah.
So your safe space was like hiding in the bathroom, right? But as an adult and being able to have healthy circles, that's the best thing to do, is to be able to talk and have that safety net to be able to communicate it out. But still hard, though. I think as I was catching myself doing it, I was beating myself up again, like, why didn't you process this when it happened? But it's like, because I didn't even realize that I was going into disassociating mode.
Yeah.
Like, it was just happening on autopilot.
Yeah, for sure.
Glad that I got to talk about it, and glad that so many of you guys were so supportive of it. And I had a lot of people messaging me and checking in on me. And I'm so grateful that I have such a supportive community. So thank you guys. And to be able to be out here doing it. I had my panic attack here, by the way.
Yeah.
As
You're
I
trying
was
to
telling
help.
you, I was like, yeah, I made sure that I was downstairs, like, just in case I had to call. I didn't know how bad it was gonna get. So I was like, in case that we have to, like, call the police or something, I'm gonna make sure that they can find my body. Like, my brain was going to, like, the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's
But
scary.
it worked out. So
Yeah.
we're still here.
Decompressing out in the sticks.
Yes, it's been nice. It's so weird how to like being around a baby calms you.
Really?
I don't know. You're like, that's not my experience. It's different for being a mother, right?
Yeah, when it's your responsibility, it's a little different, but I can see that.
Like
Babies are just
holding a
such a
baby,
light.
yeah.
They're just pure love and just so cute and fun, and she's hilarious, especially this age.
She really is. She's such a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Such a cutie.
Yeah, we moved to Austin right when Amanda decides to move to LA.
Yep.
She moved there like 2 months after we moved, and we're like, Amanda!
Didn't you get the memo? I know.
Yeah. Did you want to take any more questions, or are you good?
I think we're good unless there's one last one. I love that you
Went even shorter with your hair.
I know. Well, this wasn't supposed to happen. As soon as the girl started cutting, I was like, oh,
The stylist went rogue.
yeah, I was.
But yeah, I think it's cute.
I've never gotten mad at a hairdresser though. Like I'm just always like, okay, oh yes, and I tip and I'm nice about it because I understand. Like I think part of it was my communication. Because even afterwards, she's like, wow, this is a big change, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it really is. But it'll go back. I don't think I have a super emotional attachment to it because I've been someone who gets extensions and have thought about shaving my head. So
You have not.
yeah, I think I would shave my head. Definitely one day I will be shaving my head.
Why?
And maybe
For
you
what
guys will see
purpose?
it, maybe you won't. Why? Because I just want to experience it, but also I want to try the life of wigs because I feel like my hair has always just been kind of like thin and brittle.
No, I
and
like your hair. It's soft. It's
I think
nice.
it's healthier now.
It is, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I
But-
helped you cut out the weave.
Oh yeah, she did because it was like what would you call that, snarly, like ratty back here.
Yeah, it was knotted and
Because I
matted.
couldn't find a hairstylist where I moved to, and so then she became the hairstylist. She just cut the weave. Is that what
Yeah,
it's called,
the
the weave?
weave. Cut
And
the
then
weave
I
out.
went to get it cut. The rest.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we're on live with you guys.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, if you didn't watch part 1 on Cults to Consciousness, you can head on over there. Check out the first part of our conversation. We get graphic. Buckle in.
Yep.
It's a fun one. And yeah.
Yeah, thank you
Thanks,
guys for joining and being so supportive and kind in the comments.
Thanks for
And
watching.
yeah, if you are on my Patreon, I will leave the link to the Patreon in the description box down below, and you can go over there. We'll go live tomorrow. And thank you guys for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.